Imagine walking into one of Europe's most majestic railway stations. Marble floors, echoing footsteps, travelers rushing to catch their trains. Now, picture three small children, impeccably dressed, sitting quietly in that grand hall. Hours pass, but no one comes to claim them. They are alone, abandoned, and too young to even explain who they are. This isn't the opening of a movie. This actually happened in Barcelona in April 1984. What unfolded that day has haunted investigators, journalists, and the children themselves for decades. A story of abandonment, survival, adoption, and a hidden past entangled with crime and secrecy. On April 22, 1984, Barcelona's Grand Estació de França railway station, known for welcoming travelers from across Europe, became the stage for an unimaginable mystery. A white Mercedes-Benz pulled up outside. Inside were three young children: Ramon, aged 5, Ricard, aged 4, and Elvira, just 2 years old. They were dressed in designer clothes, giving the impression of wealth and privilege. Escorting them was a French acquaintance of their father, a man named Denis. Once inside the station, Denis asked the children to wait while he went to buy them sweets. Hours slipped by. The children began crying. Denis never returned. When railway staff discovered them, police were called immediately. The first shocking twist: the children didn't know their last names, their parents' names, or even their home address. The only clues they could offer? They spoke both French and Spanish. And they remembered living in Paris, in a room where one could see a leg of the Eiffel Tower from the window. It wasn't much to go on. Authorities placed the children in a local orphanage. At first, police expected frantic parents or relatives to appear, but no one ever came. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Notices were sent across Europe, but in the pre-internet 1980s, communication was painfully slow. No school, no neighbor, no relative ever reported the children missing. Staff noticed something unsettling. Whenever the siblings were asked about their parents, they seemed to withdraw emotionally, as if their minds had built a protective wall against painful memories. Their past was buried in silence. Then came a turning point. Psychologist Marisa Mona and her husband, Luis Moral, already experienced foster parents, spotted the children's photographs on a social services bulletin board. They decided to offer the siblings a temporary home. By June 1984, Ramon, Ricard, and Elvira were living under their care. Life began to brighten. Marisa and Luis took the children camping along the river Ebro, introducing them to the stability and love they had never known. Slowly, the children began to adapt, yet fragments of memories surfaced. Flashy cars, a black Porsche, a gray-green Jaguar, and the white Mercedes-Benz. Long road trips across Europe. A grandmotherly figure insisting they drink milk. In 1986, Marisa and Luis officially adopted the three siblings, giving them the surname Moral Mona. What had begun as a tragedy transformed into what Elvira would later call winning the jackpot. As they grew older, the siblings sometimes wondered about their biological parents. Elvira, in particular, nurtured secret fantasies that one day her mother might appear at the door. But their adoptive parents never hid the truth, and the bond they shared as a family remained unbreakable. Elvira flourished. Inspired by her adoptive father, she became a teacher specializing in sign language and children with hearing difficulties. She built a happy life in Barcelona with her partner Marco, an Italian designer, and together they had 2 sons. For a long time, Elvira chose not to pursue the mysteries of her past, but becoming a mother changed everything. Holding her newborn sons awakened questions she had long ignored. What illnesses might run in her family? What was her mother like? Had she sung to them, breastfed them, or simply walked away? The absence of answers became harder to live with. In 2020, Elvira took a DNA test through MyHeritage, hoping to connect with relatives, or at least clarify her origins. The results shocked her. Instead of strong ties to France, her DNA showed much stronger connections to southern Spain. Her lifelong certainty of being French was suddenly shattered. When she shared this discovery with her adoptive mother, Marisa, an unexpected twist emerged. Marissa revealed that she had quietly saved old newspaper clippings from 1984, describing the violent assassination of a French mafia boss, Ramon Vaccarizzi, nicknamed El Diablo. He had operated in Catalonia before being gunned down outside Barcelona's La Modelo prison. Could there be a link? The children's hazy memories began to align with the possibility of a criminal past. A pistol found during play which went off accidentally, enraging their father returning home bloodied from a confrontation, hidden jewels mysteriously stored in their home. Ricard and Ramon dismissed the idea that their father was El Diablo himself. He had pale hair unlike Vaccarizzi, but the possibility remained. Their parents might have been entangled with the criminal underworld. What began as a story of abandonment now carried the weight of mafia ties, violent disputes, and hidden lives. By 2021, after decades of unanswered questions, Elvira finally spoke publicly. She shared her story on a Catalan radio program. Initially hesitant, even embarrassed, she soon realized the broadcast had reached over 150,000 listeners. Her phone flooded with messages of support, of theories, and of people who wanted to help. Volunteers created online groups to aid her search, while amateur genealogists combed records for clues. Among those drawn in was Carmen Pastor, a French-speaking criminology enthusiast. She analyzed Elvira's DNA results and traced distant relatives across Spain. Within months, Carmen uncovered a potential family branch in Madrid. A video call followed. On screen, Elvira saw faces she had never known. Cousins, aunts, images preserved for decades. For the first time, she saw photographs of herself and her brothers as children, pictures taken long before the world knew their names. The clarity was almost haunting. The revelation was staggering. Their parents were not French, but Spaniards, Ramon Mart Sanchez and Rosario Cruz. The discovery marked a turning point, yet brought new questions. Elvira learned that her father had grown up in Seville, in a modest but lively family. Her mother hailed from Madrid. Both belonged to a marginalized community known as Moreros, akin to nomads or travelers. Ramon Sr. had been a small-time criminal, a burglar who fled Spain in 1978 after a police shootout, taking his family with him. They moved across France, Belgium, Switzerland, and Spain, never staying long. Records confirmed Ramon Jr. was born near Paris in June 1978, suggesting the family arrived in France around 1977. Their father, charming, daring, and reckless, had graduated to jewel theft and counterfeiting. Their mother, strikingly beautiful, was deeply loving but stern, volatile, and hardened by years of instability. She rarely smiled but fiercely protected her children. Family accounts painted life in Paris during the late 1970s and early 1980s. Laughter between chaos, long nights of travel, warmth amidst fear. Yet by 1983, contact with relatives ceased entirely. Letters went unanswered, phone calls were ignored, visits to grandparents stopped. By the time the children were abandoned in Barcelona in 1984, their parents had vanished. Discovering their extended family reopened old wounds. Why had their parents disappeared? Had they been murdered in a criminal dispute? Had illness or imprisonment claimed them? Or had they deliberately abandoned their children to protect them from danger? Some relatives recalled Ramon Sr. gravely ill with tuberculosis in a Parisian sanatorium in 1983. Others whispered of high-risk robberies and violent disputes. The truth remained hidden, their fate unknown. As Elvira pieced together her past, she noticed traits mirroring her parents' lives. Her affinity for flamenco, once inexplicable in Catalonia, now made sense. Her brother's love of rhythmic dancing echoed their heritage. Mannerisms, gestures, and musical tastes resurfaced across generations. Old photographs surfaced. Sunlit beaches, smiles of joy, moments oblivious to the dangers behind closed doors. The contrast was stark. Happiness against a hidden reality. What had happened behind those walls? The question remained unanswered. Throughout it all, the love of Marisa and Luis provided stability and safety the siblings' birth parents could not. Without them, Elvira often reflected, her life could have taken a far darker path. She had two families, the one that raised her and the one that gave her life, both essential to her identity. Determined to continue her search, Elvira pressed on. Volunteers, genealogists, and even former gang members offered fragments of information. Some leads proved false. Police files remained inaccessible. But forensic experts suggested that one day access might be granted. Her search balanced hope with frustration. The questions were deeply personal. She longed to ask her mother about the day they were abandoned, to understand her parents' choices. Were they protecting their children, victims of their own recklessness, or had something hidden dictated their actions? What began as abandonment in a grand railway station had grown into a lifelong journey, a journey defined by resilience, identity, and the pursuit of truth. Elvira, Ramon, and Ricard survived trauma, nurtured into adulthood by love, yet drawn to the call of blood ties. Their search was as much about self-discovery as uncovering their parents' fate. 40 years later, the mystery of Ramon Sr. and Rosario Cruz remains unsolved. Their lives, choices, and final fate are lost to history, leaving only fragments of memory, family whispers, and unanswered questions. But the children, once lost at Estació de França, are now adults rooted in two worlds. They carry the resilience of survival, the grounding of adoptive love, and the connection of a heritage rediscovered. Ramon, Elvira, and Ricard are no longer the children abandoned at the station. They are adults with families of their own, navigating life with the lessons of the past close to their hearts. They embody fragility and strength, inheritance and nurture, and the enduring power of hope in the face of mystery. And yet even now, the questions linger. What truly happened to their parents? Were they victims, survivors, or perpetrators of their own fate? Elvira continues her search, not with anger, but with curiosity, courage, and a quiet insistence that us. At her family's story, however incomplete, must be known. For anyone listening, the message is clear. The past can disappear, identities can be hidden, and mysteries can linger for decades. But human resilience, love, and the relentless search for truth have the power to transform lives. Elvira, Ramon, and Ricard are living proof.